Hi, and welcome to this installment of Frank and Mary here in Westborough. If you haven't seen this show before, my name is Art Bergeron. My day job is as an elder law attorney at Myrick O'Connell, and our offices are actually here 20 of us are actually here in Westborough. But this isn't about my day job, this is about my friends Frank and Mary. If you've seen my presentations, you know that I always talk about Frank and Mary, whose goal in life is to live in their house until they die and be buried in the backyard. And if you can identify with that, this is the show for you. So this show is really about not only programs that might be of importance to you as a senior, but also those things happening in the community and the people involved in the community that you need to know, you among others, but you certainly need to know. And so we've had these folks before, right? But we're going to be talking about some specific programs that are going on like now. It's December, it's that holiday season. With me is, of course, my good friend, Shelby Marshall, who has spent most of her political career on this show, actually. This is since she kind of got elected, which is getting to be a long time now. And so she always finds these great guests.
Don't encourage the voters.
So whom do we have today, and what are we going to talk about?
Arthur, great to see you. Happy December. Yes, so our guests today are not strangers to Frank and Mary and their friends. We have today with us members of Westborough Connects, and I'm going to have them introduce themselves and what their role is in with Westborough Connects. But they're here to talk to us about an upcoming event, the Martin Luther King Day celebration, which has become really a kind of a trademark event, if you will. So, ladies, welcome.
Thank you for having us again.
Yeah, it's so great to see you. So, please introduce yourself to our TV audience.
All right, great. Well, it's great to be here in person. You know, we've been on the Zoom screen a couple times over the past few years, but I'm happy to be back in the studio with you, so thank you for having us. My name's Kelley Petralia, and I am the Executive Director of Westborough Connects.
And hi, everybody. Same. It feels good to be in person, sitting next to you, rather than in a square. And I am Laura Cerniglia, and I am the Programming Manager for Westborough Connects.
Excellent, excellent. So, January brings Martin Luther King observance. So tell us about the event, and then we'll kind of get a little bit into like why it's important to connect.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll jump into some of the details and fill them in as you see fit.
Sure.
But yeah, it's our 5th annual celebration, and we've always done it in collaboration with the Westborough Public Schools, Westborough Interfaith Clergy, and Central Mass Connections in Faith. And as a team, we've brought a celebration to the community for the past 5 years. This year, again, happy it will be in person, because last year it was a quick switch to online. And it will be on Monday, January 16th, and it will be at Westborough High School starting at 6:30. This year, we will be, I think, thoroughly entertained. There's going to be a gentleman, he's actually an Emmy Award-winning actor. His name is Ron Jones, and he will perform a one-man show. He calls it The Movement, 50 Years of Love and Struggle. He plays about 10 different characters in this multimedia presentation and really gives history and perspective from the Voting Rights Act all the way to the present day. So
it won't be quite as good as the two-person show folks get to see a couple times a month. And we're not quite Emmy Award-winning.
But definitely not Emmy Award-winning, right? That's really exciting.
Yeah.
That's really exciting.
Right. So that part should be great. And then we're going to be further entertained by an all-male a cappella group called Ball in the House. They have Boston roots, and they even have Westborough connections. So I'm super excited to hear from that group, and it should be a great night.
Excellent. So the program will start at 6:30 at the high school.
Yeah.
And as all Westborough Connects events are, it is free to attend, right?
It is free to attend and open to all. And we're actually going to have live Spanish interpretation if it's needed, as well as American Sign Language.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. That's great. Well, and so one of the, certainly the goals of Connects is to make events as inclusive, certainly welcoming to all, but as inclusive as possible. So having those interpreters is a key component to that. Excellent, excellent. So why is this celebration sort of become a cornerstone of the work of Connects?
Sure, yeah, I can take that one. Yeah, so actually it came out of the Westborough Interfaith Clergy, actually. Pastor Jeff Goodrich
Which is what?
I'm sorry,
Kelley. Yeah, so
the Westborough Interfaith Clergy is a kind of a connecting group in and of itself. It's clergy from multiple denominations of churches and congregations here in Westborough. They come together and they meet and talk and do things, you know, where they are able to. And this is one of those collaborations They decided that, you know, Westborough didn't have a community celebration around Martin Luther King Day, and it was really time to do that. So Rabbi Rachel Gurvitz from Congregation of B'nai Shalom and Pastor Jeff Goodrich from the Good Shepherd Lutheran Church actually started this and asked the schools and Westborough Connects from our kind of where we sit in the community to join in this collaboration. And so that was, you know, this is our 5th celebration, but we've been planning it for 6 years now, and it's a year-round planning effort. We were really thrilled when they approached us because you know, our mission is all around connection and inclusion, and these really hit the mark on what we want to do and bring to the community. It's really about sort of celebrating and bringing in the spirit of Dr. Martin Luther King and his vision for a beloved community, and that is really where we are aligned with, you know, everybody being welcome and everybody having a role here in our community. So.
Excellent.
And the schools really do try to get the children involved as well. They've run a contest for the last few years where kids are given a writing prompt and then they, you know, create some form, and they've actually presented at some of the programs, so they get, you know, the teens kind of involved. And then we're also going to do another installment of a story walk. And the book is called What the Road Said by Cleo Wade, and location to be determined, so stay tuned. But it's really an inspirational book about a child that gets to this magical road and says, but like, how do I begin? And the road kind of leads it along the journey with some really good advice for not just kids, but adults too. Like, well, what if I hit, you know, what if I do it wrong? You know, is there a wrong? Or what if I get to somebody who doesn't agree with me? And the road kind of provides, you know, information about how to lead that journey and how to kind of live through life. So we try to kind of hit the whole community and not just the adults, but kids too.
And for those that aren't familiar with what a story walk is.
Yeah. So a story walk is, there are certain books that you are allowed to use, and it's basically page by page, and you take a walk and you stop and you read the book. And it's a great way to get out there, get out in nature, and read with somebody and answer the, you know, go through questions and ask questions. So basically reading a book in nature.
Reading a book in nature.
Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent.
We
You know,
actually
because kids
have
can kind of get up and moving and,
Yep.
you know, not
Yeah.
sitting in a typical story time.
Sure.
We have a story walk installed right now, actually, at Nurse Farm along their trails. So they have trails, and Nurai Wallace, who is a volunteer for Westborough Connects, worked with Nurse Farm to install What If the World Were 100 People? And it's a really beautiful book about just sort of the world, and really what would it look like if there were only 100 of us, and how many of us would be, you know, this, and how many of us would do this. And so it's a really neat, and that will be actually there through this month until I think the weather doesn't cooperate anymore. But
And how would folks see that? I know we're not talking about Martin
free,
Luther King.
self-guided,
Yep.
you know, it's
so where is
basically-
it? If you can give a point of reference, how would
if
one
you go
access
to
it?
the store, the Nurse Farm store, they can point you, but they basically have tours that are self-guided, trails, and they will bring, you know, you just follow the trail and it sort of points and you can sort of see line of sight from one to another.
And you're reading the pages of the book as you walk in.
Yeah.
the
They're
trail.
beautifully
Yeah.
laminated, and yes, they're on these, you know, stool, like
A podium, so they're kind of obvious when
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
once
Toll
you get
Brothers
there.
built them for us, actually, the podiums, and so
excellent.
it was a real kind of effort to get that done. So.
And so good for kids, because you're like in the woods and it's like, oh look, there's the next page,
Yeah.
right? So
And
right.
adults, though.
Right.
And
I mean,
adults,
and
that's
that's
right.
the thing about most children's books, right? I mean, you
They're
need
really
a
written
child to have
for
an
us.
Definitely,
excuse, right?
right.
Or
That's right.
lessons learned, or what we need to go through too.
That's right.
and
That's right.
be
Something that
reminded of.
Pixar has discovered regarding movies, right?
Sure.
It was true.
Yeah,
It's been true for
right.
kids' books for a long time,
Right.
right? It's the adults that really want it.
Yes, you just need a kid sometimes to have the excuse.
You need an excuse.
Right.
Like, come on, we're going to go, right?
Right. So.
So for the celebration, so that there will be this one-man show,
Yep.
and there will be the a cappella group. So typically in the past, there's been sort of what I'll call some reflective moments as part of the event. Will there be opportunity for that this year, or no? Or will Connects try to sort of engage maybe through some of the Connect Over coffees, or
Great
if you
question.
could-
Great.
Yeah, so we're actually, that leads us into, we're kind
There you go.
of continuing the celebration, and at the end of January, on the 28th, also at the high school, it's a Saturday, there's going to be a journey mapping event, and this was actually going to take part as part of last year's celebration, because our speaker, Dr. Jenkins, he kind of took a concept that started in the business world, journey mapping, and he kind of
Just
brought it into,
Dr.
yes,
Bowtie.
Dr.
Dr.
Bowtie,
Bowtie.
into like, how do we make some community change? But because we did have to switch into Zoom, everyone agreed it would be better in person, so we're going to do it this year. And basically, the planning team will come up with some kind of social question, and everyone will be there, and there are like big post-it boards, and you kind of start out by what could be the first step, and you kind of put it up, and then somebody else will come up and say, well, how do I build on your idea? And how do we build and build and build, and how do we make that journey to a solution? So kind of you do some individual work, but then also as a group to try to come up with some kind of solution. So that
Very
will be the
cool.
continuation of.
Oh, and so the road book is,
Yes, very
obviously a
much.
great
Yeah.
precursor
Good tie.
to that. So we should all get out and enjoy that walk.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good. What else, Kelley, Executive Director? What else is going on with Connects that you can give, while you've got the screen time?
Sure, yes. Well, I mean, we actually just had a volunteer celebration last night, which was really nice. We invited all our volunteers, which there are over 60 of them that helped us within the last year, and we had a group of about half of them last night, which was really fun to kind of celebrate them and all they do to make the work that we do possible. But moving into 2023, we just finished a strategic plan, and we were able to, through One Worcester Foundation, have a consultant for free pro bono to help us figure out sort of where do we go for the next 3 years, and taking all the things that we have learned and all the people we've spoken with, and then kind of lay out the goals for our work. So that is a continuation of a lot of our programs, our annual programs, and our work around what we call Square One, our resilience, mental health and substance use programming, as well as our other programs like Kindness Week and Martin Luther King and Westborough Unplugged. So we'll continue all of that great stuff, and then we'll be building on that from there. So.
And some of our viewers may be familiar with Laura from her extensive work on the most recent program we had in the fall.
Yes.
The Westborough for Life,
yes.
which you should also have
Yes.
a lot of knowledge
Yes,
of.
I do as well. Laura and I were quite involved in the planning of that event. Is there a sense at this point, Laura, whether or not that's going to be an annual event? I know there's been lots of, even the public's feedback has been, no, do it every year, no, every other year,
Yeah.
maybe something different. What
It
are
was
your
kind
thoughts?
of, I would say it was pretty much split between the people who attended what they thought, as well as the people who we relied on to come and exhibit and everything. It was pretty split. I do believe at this point we're going to make it an annual event. With maybe some tweaks and what we'll focus on each year.
Sure.
But the feedback was really positive, and it was a great place for the community to just come together and see what's in Westborough. Right. Even some people would say they've lived here and they had no idea that so much was there. Right. We might make some changes, and we obviously always listen to the feedback and want to listen to what everybody wants. But I do think that will be an annual event in September.
Go ahead, Deb.
I was just going to say, we're still learning and growing and meeting new people, and there are a lot of people that didn't even know about that, as much as we, work to, get the word out and whatnot. So I think it'll be good if we can continue to build that kind of number of people that even know that we're doing those sorts of things. So we'll attract different folks every year, hopefully.
Sure. Well, I think that's one of the beauties too of Westborough Connects is that connectivity and so I would encourage viewers, if you are involved in an organization and you want to sort of get the word out about your organization, or you have volunteers in your organization looking to participate in an event, reach out to Westborough Connects and have a conversation with Kelley about opportunities to volunteer. We're always looking to grow that base, and it's a great way to connect with people. I mean, people love to connect while they're participating in service or giving of their time. And we have Connects has a pretty extensive reach now through its newsletter, so often events are advertised through that and shared. So,
yes. And we're using more like, of course, Westborough TV is always great about being there for all of our events. They rerun their recordings of our events, which is fantastic.
And they'll be live streaming them.
Oh, they'll be
MLK
live
event, which
streaming
I forgot to
oh,
mention.
fantastic!
But
Yes.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
And then
so
the community
should weather
advocate.
not knock
Sorry.
on wood.
It will not affect a thing.
Right. It should weather not cooperate in January.
In January?
Right.
be
But it's important, for our viewers at
it will
home
be.
that kind of see the temperatures dropping, and they're like, and it is a nighttime event. And
Absolutely.
There's by the way, there's never any good time to hold an event ever.
That's right.
The weekends aren't good, the evenings aren't
Very
good.
true.
That's right.
Yep.
That's recognized as part of programming, right?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
So.
Anything else about the event that we didn't cover that you want to make sure
No,
our
you
viewers?
just hit on that it's going to be live streamed. Yes, absolutely.
Excellent.
So,
So we'll make sure that Aidan has a slide here at the end. He's always so great about assisting with that to make sure that we give our viewers a visual of what the event is and what time it is and where they can learn more information. And again, it's free, folks. Come out, make an evening of it, and
Should be a great night.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun. It sounds.
And this is where I just kind of throw in my pitch for Westborough Connects, right?
Yeah.
Which is
Yep.
this which I've always said when we were talking in
Yep.
these conversations, is something I just never seen before. The notion of actually having a group whose point is to connect up everybody else, as opposed to groups who have a very important mission, but tend to just focus on their mission,
Sure.
right? Which is fine, as long as there's somebody who is connecting them with everybody else. Because otherwise you just get lost. There are the people that, just like as you described, people who come up and say, I didn't know that was exactly.
Yeah.
How can that be, right? Well, because there were like 18, how many thousand people here now?
Yeah, 20.
20,000
plus.
people.
Yep.
So it's really easy to kind of just miss
Sure.
it. But and that's where Westborough Connects is so important. And that is also, once again, where I always talk about this cable station. This is where the cable station is really important too.
Right.
Because there's in this day of evaporating print media, the ability of, and even when there was print media, the ability of cable to tell your story, right, or to actually see it, as opposed to having to read it, right, is just transformative in terms of giving people a real sense of those connections.
Right.
So that's really terrific. I just mentioned this because, of course, it's getting to be at the end of the year, and
It
people
is.
are sometimes thinking about, well, you know, are there any people that I really want to be supporting? You know, and you always think of the standard ones, and you're going to give to church, and you're going to give this, all this other stuff. But if you really love, and this is the point of this show, if you really like Westborough, right? If you really like Westborough, you want to be supporting these folks. This is really important, and I'm sure that you're going to have on Aidan was going to provide contact information so that if you'd like to be supporting them, I would really encourage you to do that. This is just a wonderful. It's a wonderful thing. It really represents something very special about Westborough.
Great. Well, Arthur.
Thank you very
How's
much.
that?
Arthur.
So nice.
How's that? With that in mind,
Thank you, Kelley. Thank you,
Thank
Laura.
you.
Yes.
So,
Thank you.
so good to have you.
Love
yes,
being here.
and happy holidays.
Yes,
and happy
absolutely.
holidays to all of you, and happy holidays to all of you folks. I think, is this our last show?
I think we have
before-
one more. If the stars align, I think we have one more.
We have one more show, so I won't say we'll see you next year. I'll just say we'll see you next show, which may be next year. So thank you very much for watching, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next installment of Frank and Mary here in Westborough. Thank you very much.